Freilich and Purim, everybody. Welcome to Jerry's Megillah Musings for Purim 5780 2020 Tufshin Pei. We didn't do a video last week for Tetzaveh, traveling and coronavirus and all over the place, and everything was nuts. So let's try to connect Parsha Zachor and the Megillah and all sorts of interesting things, current events, and so on and so forth. So we begin with Zachor es asher asa lacha Amalek. Let us remember what Amalek did to us. So what did Amalek do that was so noteworthy? So the Torah tells us, asher karcha baderech, the Amalek attacked from behind. They came up and snuck up on Am Yisrael as they were at the height of they had just witnessed Kriyas Yamsuf and so on and so forth. They were on their way to Kabbalah Satorah, and Asher Karcha Baderech, Amalek happened upon them. And we know that this happened immediately after Am Yisrael were complaining about the water, and they were hungry and they were thirsty, and why did God take us out in order to kill us in the Midbar? And right after that, the whole Amalek incident happened. We spoke about this a little bit during when we went over Parshas Beshalach. But let's also think about the word karcha, asher karcha baderech. The word karcha has as its root the word kar. In other words, the Bnei Yisrael, they were burning with desire for Hashem, and came Amalek and asher karcha baderech. They cooled them off a little bit. They made them realize that there's a world out there, that things don't always go as you expect. Stuff happens. Amalek happens. We know that Amalek happened because Bnei Yisrael were complaining, and Hashem doesn't like when we complain so much, right? We have to have the attitude of gratitude. We spoke about that. But also, what else is at the root of Amalek is Mikra. Karcha, Mikra, happenstance, that things happen on their own. The whole idea of Amalek is trying to tell us that Hashem isn't in control. We're in control. We decide. We don't decide. Hashem decides. Yes, we have free choice, but ultimately, where Amalek is the nation of Mikra. We don't believe in Mikra. Ein Mikra, rak me Hashem. And the Torah tells us, Timcha ez Zachor Amalek. Because of these things, that Amalek happened upon us from behind in a sneaky sort of fashion, and didn't meet us man to man on the battlefield. At the end, Yoshua cleaned their clock, not a problem. But they used the terror method of attack, right? The roadside bombs, and happening upon them again, like we said, b'mikra, like sneaking up. And because they tried to take away our desire to serve Hashem, then the Torah tells us Timcha ez Zachor Amalek. Okay, very good. So that's the root of Parsha Zachor, and why we have to remember what Amalek did and never forget that these things happen, and there's a proper response. So now let us fast forward 1,000-something years to Sudas Achashverosh. Here we are, after Churban Bayis Rishon, waiting for the rebuilding of Bayis Sheni, and we know the whole story with the Kalim of the Beit HaMikdash as the graphic displays. Sudas Achashverosh, what does the Megillah tell us? V'hashtia kadat eino nes. Everybody could drink whatever they want, meaning what? They had Baron Herzog wine, they had Gamla, they had Barkan, they had Selected, they had the best kosher wines, right? Even Mavushal, not Mavushal, whatever you want was there, right? And the Jews partook in this feast. Okay, what's so bad? I mean, he's the king. He invited his Jewish subjects. The food was all badatz, right? It was Eda Charedis. What's the problem? So, the problem is, what were they celebrating? They were celebrating the fact that Achashverosh made a feast because the Jews were, according to his calculations, there wasn't going to be the 70 years and them going back to Israel and rebuilding the Beit HaMikdash. And the Jews were very happy to partake in this feast. It's the same story like we learned with Yetzias Mitzrayim. Remember, a year after the Makas Dam already, the servitude stopped, and 4/5 of the Jews didn't want to leave Mitzrayim. Why? They had it very good there. And the same thing is going on here at the Seudas Achashverosh. He's making a party that Beit HaMikdash isn't going to be rebuilt. And the Jews were very happy to partake. Yeah, Glad Kosher, they had a kosher kingdom, and they had gourmet glad, and everything was great, and they were very happy staying in Persia. And then came Amalek. When we do stupid things, when we do things that anger HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Aran kimt Amalek. Amalek is coming. So what happened? We had the whole story of Haman with Mordechai not bowing down. Now, this all happened rather quickly. This whole thing happened in the span of about a year. And I know that sounds like a lot of time, but it really wasn't. And Haman with Yesh Am Echad, there's the one nation, and they don't hold like the king, and the silver. And before they knew it, they were facing a Holocaust. I mean, a Holocaust bigger than the Holocaust. This would have been a complete wiping out of the Jewish people, right? Not a half, not a third, the whole Am Yisrael. Within this fast comes Esther. We know the story. Vashti, the party, and it was from the same party that the salvation came. Why? Because Esther told Mordechai, Lech Knossos Kol HaYehudim, gather all the people together and fast and pray together ba'achdut. It was the achdut that saved Am Yisrael. It was their being one nation together, just as they were at Har Sinai, Ke'ish echad b'leiv echad, and that is how the whole Yeshua came about. It was They basically threw off Amalek with their Achdus and realized that Hashem is in control, and the only way they were getting out of this was by the hand of Hashem, which is why in Megillat Esther the hand of Hashem is very. It looks like a Hamlet play. It looks like a Shakespearean play. The whole Megillas Esther. It was palace drama and intrigue. It looked very natural to use the colloquialism, right? It didn't look like it wasn't a Kriyas Yamsuf and a Maimed Har Sinai with thunder and lightning and 10 plagues and frogs and lice and chvezvos. It all happened very seemingly in a natural way, but it was clearly that because in this natural course of events, the Bnei Yisrael were able to see the hand of God and realize that it's really Hashem that's causing all of this. It, they said, oh, Esther, she's Ivanka Trump, Yachos Yesh Lanu b'White House, we have somebody in the White House. No, it's all Hashem. It's all Hashem. Everything happens. Everyone is put where they are because Hashem wants them there. The whole Esther thing, she didn't even want to be queen. She didn't want them perfumes and the thing and the show, wherever the Pilagshim were, and she didn't want nothing. She went just by herself, and nonetheless, because Hashem wanted her there, but could have just been that, Achashverosh, because she was not trying so hard, maybe that's what he found attractive about her. Doesn't matter, because it was all Hashem. And that's what the Bnei Yisrael had to realize. Leich kanosas kol haYehudim, daven together and realize that Hashem is in control. And then what happened? All of a sudden, Balayla hahu nadada ashnas hamelech. The king's sleep was disturbed. And we know that King Achashverosh, he called in his man and he was reading the thing, and Mordechai, and then Mordechai with the horse, the soos, right? And before you know it, they were at the party with Esther, Haman hara hazeh. In a matter of seconds, the whole thing turned around, and Mordechai is walking out in royalty, and Queen Esther, Achashverosh now knows that she's a Yiddish idol, and she becomes queen, and Daryavish, and they rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. 1, 2, 3. That's how fast Yeshua's Hashem can happen. Why? When we realize that the Yeshua comes from Hashem. When we realize that Hashem's got this. He doesn't. Hashem's like, just trust me. I got this. I don't need your help. You're not in control. Hashem is in control. Our job is to do our best and to daven together and pray that Hashem will hear our prayers. And indeed, it's just like, I heard one of the most beautiful explanations of Balayla hu nadada shnas hamel. Right, beautiful. It was tragic and beautiful at the same time. But if you think about World War II, talking about Amalek, where we saw the modern Amalek in full blast, right? Hitler, Yamach Shemai v'zichro, was crazy, but he wasn't stupid. He was a brilliant military. He had a brilliant military strategy, the whole blitzkrieg. What made him attack Russia when he did? All you had to do was look at Napoleon. I mean, read military history and you realize that wasn't a really good idea. I mean, he got stuck up in that Moscow winter, and yeah, the Battle of Stalingrad, it was a disaster on both sides, but it finished Germany. You don't think Hitler knew this? Hashem said, okay, that's it. A terrible price was paid by Am Yisrael, but ultimately the war was over. And Yeshua's Hashem Keheref Ayin, 1946, the Jewish people were on the verge of destruction at the end of World War II. 2 years later, Medinat Yisrael, 70 years later, world power. I know that sounds like a lot of time. It's not a lot of time. Not in the scope of history. It's nothing. It's you don't even see it on a timeline. And Yeshua's Hashem Keheref, and we were on the verge of destruction. And because Hashem's Lailahu Nadada Shnat HaMelech, here we are. And that's how fast Hashem can turn what looks like destruction into rebirth. Rabbosai, we're facing a new enemy. It's a bug. It's microscopic. We can't even see it. In one day, this morning, The market was down over 2,000 points, the stock market. As you know, I'm a financial advisor. I didn't have a great day. And over the last weeks, trillions were lost. Trillions. Because of a bug that you can't see. And let's face it, the flu is more dangerous than this thing. But when Hashem says, I want to teach everybody a lesson about who's in charge, he doesn't need tanks, he doesn't need bombs, he doesn't need F-16s, and he doesn't need B-2 bombers. He needs a microscopic bug that you can't even see, smaller than a flea, and boom, the whole world is standing on its head. And in for the first time, I think, since the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, people can't get, I mean, you can't get here. The jet stopped flying because of a bug, a microscopic bug, and it isn't even because of the bug, it's because of the panic. It's not even the bug. But Hashem needs to teach us a lesson about who's in charge. Purim is the day to realize that even though you don't see it, Hashem's in charge. And in 1 second we had practical destruction, and the next second Haman's 10 sons were hanging on the tree. There they are. So we have to realize who's in charge. We daven, everybody who's affected by this machla should have a refuah shalema, and it should go the way of all these bugs. We'll take care of it. Israel's being very careful about their quarantining, as is the world. I have every expectation that this will we'll look back about it and remember it the same way we remember SARS and Ebola and all these other terrible things, Rahmana litzlan, we shouldn't know from it. But let's remember that when you think everything is, you think you're in charge and everything's going great, all it takes is a second. And just like Hashem could turn the world upside down in a second, he could bring Yeshua in the same second. Everybody have an absolutely wonderful Purim. Enjoy. Don't drink too much. And if you do, stay the hell off the road. Wash your hands. Join us back here for Jerry Parsha Ponderings. For Parshas, we got Kisisa coming up. So some good stuff coming up. Catch it later on in the week. Afreilich and Purim.